In today's video, we're diving into a gorgeous ripple stitch. This one is such a treat because it's only a 2-row repeat, and in my mind it's like a 1-row repeat because one of those rows is just double crochets all the way across. This makes it super easy to memorize and really relaxing once you get going. I've actually shared this stitch before about 4 years ago, and I wanted to give it a fresh update just to clarify a couple of things that I feel I missed in that first video, and to show you one simple tweak that I discovered that can give you even more texture to your piece. This little change makes this stitch so soft and squishy. I think you're going to love it just as much as I do. For the sample you see here, I used a weight 4 cotton yarn with a 4mm hook. Adding a slip knot to my hook. To work this ripple, we're going to be working with a multiple of 17 plus 3. So that just means you're going to go 17, 17, 17 until you reach the width of the blanket or project that you want to make, and then add 3 more at the end. So for the sample that you saw in the beginning, I started with a chain of 51 plus 3 more, giving me a chain of 54 total. But for this little sample, I'm going to do a chain of 34 plus 3 more at the end, giving me a total of 37. For row 1, we're doing double crochets in each chain across, starting in the 5th chain from the hook. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Double crochet. By the way, the turning chain does count as a stitch. When you come to the end, double check that you have the amount of double crochets that match the multiple of 17 that you used. Or in other words, whatever your chain count was, subtract 3, and that's how many double crochets you should see. For example, my multiple of 17 was 34, so I should see 34 double crochets. And as a quick reminder, the turning chain does count as a stitch. Okay, and here's where the ripple effect begins on row 2, and I want you to remember the number 12 and the number 5. To begin, create a chain of 3 and turn. And you can replace that with stacked singles if you prefer. I'm going to stick with the chain here, and you'll see why here in just a moment. Remember I said our peaks are going to be 12 double crochets. Well, for the beginning and end, we're doing a half peak. So a half peak would be 6 double crochets. So we're going to do 6 double crochets, doing 2 doubles in the next 3 stitches. 2, 4, 6. So we've already done a chain. Add another double crochet into the same stitch at the base of that chain. Now the tweak that's going to give you all of this texture to your project is simply to work into the back loop only of your rows. And you'll be doing this for every single row. And that's the only difference between this one and the original that I shared several years ago. Is it just me, or does it really give such a different appearance simply by working in the back loop only? So if you would prefer this look, if you're looking at this and thinking, oh, I really like that. If you want it to look like this, then don't work in the back loop only. Work in the stitch like you normally would. And if you'd like to see that done, I'll go ahead and pop that video right here. So we've done our first 2 double crochets of our first half peak. So now we need to do 4 more. And we're just going to do 2 double crochets in the next 2 stitches. But remember, we're working into the back loop only for this version. So pull the work towards you. And here are the back sides of the loops. And again, I did it in the full stitch because I feel it anchors these stitches down a little bit better. I will do that at the end as well. But starting now, I'm working in the back loop. 2 doubles in the next stitch. Two more. And yes, that loop is going to stretch up. Do not worry about it. Somehow it all comes back together after you complete the stitches. but it will look very loosey-goosey as you're working on it. So that is half of a peak. The regular full-size peak will be 12 double crochets. But now we're getting ready for the valley, and that's just 5 double crochets, but we're skipping 1 stitch in between each. So skipping the next stitch, we're going to work a double crochet in the following stitch. That's 1. Skip a stitch, double in the next, back loop only, remember. 2, skip a stitch, 3, skip a stitch, 4, skip a stitch, 5. Finish that segment. We're getting ready for the peak, which is 12 double crochets. So we skip a stitch and then we begin. 12 double crochets over the next 6 stitches. So skip a stitch, 2 doubles. I'm just going to count them by 2s here. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. And always double check that you've actually done 12 because you can accidentally do less or more. Just ask me how I know. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. Perfect. Getting ready for the next segment, the valley. We're doing 5 double crochets with skips in between. So skip a stitch, double, skip, double, that's 2, skip, 3, skip, 4, skip, 5. Now I've come to the end, but if you were continuing on, you would skip the next stitch and then do your 12 double crochets in the next 6 stitches. And then just continue that back and forth until you get to the end of your row. When you come to the end of the row, you should see 4 remaining stitches. Instead of doing the 12 double crochets, you're just cutting it in half. So it's going to be 6 double crochets over 3 stitches. So we have 4 here, perfect. Skip 1, 2 doubles in the next. Two more in the next, that's 4. And for the final stitch, I go through both stitches. Now we're still on row 1, so there's just a chain here. I'm going to just go in the top of that chain with 2 double crochets. This is a really subtle ripple effect, so you're not going to see a big change in your stitch count from when you do your chain and then the ripple stitch itself. And that is the 2-row repeat, and we're just going to continue this row after row. So I'll do another couple of rows with you and show you a color change. You can either complete your very last stitch with your new color and then begin the next row. Notice here I have a slip knot on my hook, and that's because I'm not cutting these tail ends and tying them together. I'm going to be carrying them up the side. So this little knot here just helps me to anchor the yarn in place. Totally optional. The other way you can do this is to complete your very last stitch, remove the hook from your yarn, go into the 2 sidebars of that final stitch and do the same thing. Pull the yarn through, release the old yarn. We're not snipping it, we're continuing on with it later, and then start your following row. So to begin our 2-row repeat again, we're just going to do a row of double crochets in each stitch across. So easy. You can begin the row with a chain 3 if you like. That can serve as your first double crochet. I don't like the look of that very much. It looks a little bit too thin because you're not working into that stitch. So for these double crochet rows, I prefer to do stacked single crochets. You may have heard it referred to as stacked double crochet. I'm just going to turn, going into the very first stitch, pull the yarn through, yarn over, pull through 2. That's a single crochet. Working into the sidebar, pull the yarn through, create another single crochet, and that's going to replace the double or the chain 3. And now I'm just doing a double crochet in each stitch across. Again, working into the back loop only. I worked in the full stitch here, but from now on I'm working into the back loop only. Double crochets all the way across. When you come to the end, it can be really easy to skip that last stitch. So I always have to double check, make sure that I have all 6 of my doubles. So here I have 2 more to do. If you find that you're having trouble with that, by all means add a stitch marker at the beginning and end of your rows. It really, really does help. If you need to check your stitch count, just remember it's whatever the multiple of 17 was that you started with. I'm going to show you that ripple sequence one more time. We've done the double crochets. I'm chaining 3 and turning. And in the very same stitch, add a double crochet. And I'm going into both loops of that stitch. But from here on out, I'm working back loop only. I've done 2 so far. I'm doing half of a peak, which is 6 doubles over 3 stitches. So that's 2 so far. Four and 6. Getting ready for the valley, that's 5. Remember, we skip before and after these, so it's skip a stitch, work 5 doubles, skipping in between. There's 1, skip, 2, skip, 3, skip, 4, skip, and 5. Getting ready for the peak, that's 12 double crochets. Remember, we skip before each segment, so skip the next stitch, 12 double crochets over the next 6 stitches. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, and 12. Skip. Time for the valley. 5 double crochets. 1, skip, 2, skip, 3, skip, 4, skip, toodaloo, my darling, 5. To continue on, you would skip a stitch and then do 12 double crochets in the following 6 stitches, but we've come to an end here, so instead of that, we're doing half. So we're skipping a stitch and working into the next 3 stitches with 2 double crochets. 2, 4, and 6 in the final stitch. I'm just going through everything there with my last two. And that's optional. If you wanted to do another color like I did here, you certainly can and still do the carrying because you're changing colors every third row, and that's why it works. But here I'm just going to show you how I change colors. You can either carry the yarn up by using the color changing methods that I showed you earlier, but I like to just simply pull that yarn through the loop. It just seems to hold everything better for me. The biggest tip I can give you here is just to make sure that the new yarn, the carried portion, is nice and straight. You don't want it to be too tight, otherwise it's going to make everything buckle up. You would rather it be a little bit gappy than tight, because you can cover all of that up with that foundation border. And then just get ready for the 2-row repeat. I'm going to turn and do a stacked single crochet for my very first double crochet and continue on with the sequence. And that's all there is to it, and you get this beautiful texture, a little bit different on both sides, but equally neat, I think. But again, remember, if you don't want this texture and you like the look of the smooth finish, which is really gorgeous too, then just don't work in the back loop. And here you can see with this sample, I have the carried yarn on the sides, and that's going to be covered up by the single crochet border on the sides. This is just a simple foundation border. I did single crochets along the sides, doing about 2 single crochets per row on those raw edges, sometimes 3. Your goal here is just to make sure that everything lays nice and flat. And then for the corners, I did 3 single crochets. If you'd like to learn more on how to do a foundation border of single crochets, I'll add a link right here. But that's basically all you need to know. Now, if you wanted to straighten these edges out, I believe I shared how to do that in the previous video. But basically, the rule of thumb here is that you're just taking different height stitches to straighten it out. So for example, here, you would start with something like single crochets where it's up high, because you just need a short stitch. And then as it progresses down, your stitches will get higher. So it would be something like single crochets, moving to half doubles, to doubles, and then here at the lowest dip, a treble crochet, and then continue up the side, but in the opposite sequence of going from trebles up to doubles, half doubles, and singles. And you're just going to play with that to see what works best to match your tension. And the same thing on the other side, but it will be in the reverse sequence. You'll notice here on the sides, you're starting in a low area, so your stitches will be taller. So you could possibly start with a double crochet or even go up to a treble. So that would be a standing treble crochet or a chain 4. And then the same thing, as you get closer to the line, you would shorten your stitches. So it could be something like treble, double, half double, single, or something like that. Singles across until you go to your next valley. Hope that makes sense. But this is such a beautiful ripple. You may want to just leave this as is. I'm going to go ahead and add a link to that original video, as well as the other ripple stitch that is super popular on this channel. A lot of you have made it and love it. So if you're looking for something really easy, any of those and this would be a perfect match. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.